Hey guys, I got a question from a buddy of mine. He says, "Hey Brian, I know it's not really what you deal with, but have you any tips for fighting addiction? I'd really like to cut back on smoking with intent to give up down the line. If you have any tips at all, they'd be greatly appreciated. But again, I know it's not really your thing or area of expertise." Smoking's not really my area of expertise. However, I've done a lot of reading and research on addiction and how addiction works in the brain and in the body, specifically food addiction, but the same applies for alcohol, drugs, smoking. A great book I've read is The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. What he talks about is how the habit forms in our brain can lead to destructive addictions like smoking, like overeating, like alcohol abuse. He talks about how all habits are formed by the cue, routine, reward system. So you have a cue, so a trigger, something triggers your need to have a cigarette, or your need to overeat, or your need for an alcoholic drink. Then you go through the routine. Okay, I'll take out my cigarette, or I'll go for a drive and I'll take out my cigarette, or I'll go to the shop and get all the food that I need. Then you get the reward, which is either the serotonin release from overeating the food of sweet foods, or the relaxing feeling you get after having a cigarette. Basically, what he talks about is to change a habit and to try and eliminate and stop and cut back on an addiction, you need to change something from the cue, routine, reward pattern. I can give you first-hand experience. I have had an issue with food and overeating, as a lot of fitness guys and bodybuilders will tell you. When you eat really, really clean, you tend to have binge sessions on food. I don't do this anymore. Since I've read this book, it's made me understand my body and my brain a lot better, and how habits and how the cue, routine, reward system works. I realized that every single Friday when I would come home from college while I was in school, my body would crave sweet things and chocolate and really luxurious foods that I generally didn't eat during the week. And I would get the cue. The trigger would be, I'm at home, I'm in my house, my mum and dad's house. My routine would be, I'll go to the shop, get the sweet things, the chocolates, get whatever it is I want, and the reward again would be the serotonin release I get from eating those foods. I realized after reading this book that the cue was my environment. It was being bored and being stressed, and I associated being at home with eating comfort foods. What I did then was I changed the cue. So when I'd come home, I would straight away, when I knew that I was going to get that craving, picked up my gym bag and I went and trained. That broke the cycle. So I changed the cue, which was, instead of going home and feeling bored and getting comfort food and associating being home with having comfort food, I associated being home with going to my gym. So my routine changed also, which was now the routine of driving to the shop, now entailed driving to the gym. And the reward was the serotonin release from exercise as opposed from a serotonin release from food. So this really supported me and helped my overeating, binge eating, cheat meals, cheat days. But the same thing applies for smoking addiction. And this book really supported me. So I'll put a link down below. But I recommend you either buy this book, The Power of Habit, or listen to it on audiobook. I use the Audible app. I've got this book as a hard copy and I've got it as an audiobook. I've listened to it 2 or 3 times. I love it. So hopefully read through that, look through the cue, routine, reward system, find it is what's your cue, what's your trigger. When is it that you want to smoke? Is it every morning? Is it when you get stressed that you crave cigarettes? Find your cue and then either change the cue, and if you can't change the cue, try and change the routine or change the reward. Okay, and Charles Duhigg talks about more about this in his book. So I hope that supports you, buddy. Let me know if there's anything else you want to know, and I'll put the link down below so that you can see what the book looks like.